Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about From Up on Poppy Hill, which was a recommendation by Angel. So thank you very much, Angel, for that recommendation. But
I know I appreciated it.
Indeed. So did my wife. But before we get into that, before we delve into it, we were talking about some, patron exclusive, a little bit of perks coming to them, a revamped logo just for them, as well as the next upcoming patron exclusive. It will be, unfortunately, sadly, painfully, Dragon Ball Evolution, the live action Dragon Ball adaptation. Unfortunately, that's what we're going to be watching.
Something tells me that someone's very happy about that.
I am so very ecstatic. We also talked about a plethora of other things. If you want to catch a part of that wider conversation, patreon.com/featured anime podcast. Or if you want to support us through other means, we do have the movie that for this week's choice, From Up on Poppy Hill. We do have an affiliate link for you in the show notes. Click on that. It'll take you right to Right Stuff Anime, and anything, honestly, if you buy from there, we do get a little bit of a kickback, and it would be very much appreciated if that's how you choose to support us, as well as some other wonderful affiliate links that we do actually have down in there for you. Or you could buy some of our own merch, shop.featuredanimepodcast.com as well. And of course, everything and all the information that you could possibly need, featuredanimepodcast.com, all that wonderful information. And now onto the meat and potatoes. From Up on Poppy Hill came out in July 2011. Producers for it is Nippon Television. It is a Studio Ghibli movie. It's based off of a manga, and the genres for it are romance, historical, school, and shoujo. And it ran for an hour and 35 minutes.
Yes,
to all that wonderful stuff.
I was waiting for you to say something else. It didn't feel like it though. I had to take a break in the middle because it was a bit slow for me.
Oh.
But
I see.
Maybe it's just because I got used to watching stuff at like 5 times the speed.
Probably.
But yeah, I can't complain at all with the choice. The animation style was very typical of Studio Ghibli. Like nothing was bad. I want to point that out. And one of the things, do you know what period piece this might have been in? Like what rank of period piece this might have been?
What do you mean?
I want to say the 60s.
I wonder what gave you that impression.
I'm not good with history.
I mean, like, it couldn't have been the fact that they had 1967 Tokyo Olympics plastered all over the place, right?
It could have been that.
Could have been that. It is a possibility.
Could have been that. What I will say is it was mentioned that the Korean War had happened recently. So that's why I was like, it could be 50s? Any one of these different
the 50s.
Yeah. The main plot point is one of the main character's father ended up passing away in the Korean War.
Right.
So it was very sad. But what I really enjoy about Studio Ghibli, and I wanted to come out with this first because it was one of the few things I noticed in the first 5 minutes. And I was watching it with one of my coworkers, and we paused it and got into a real lengthy discussion. But one of the things I noticed about Studio Ghibli, regardless of who started it, who won, who lost, whose fault it was, you don't see any blame. Studio Ghibli, I have yet to see a Studio Ghibli film, to my recollection, that takes a stance either for or against any kind of war. They just treat it as something that happened. They don't really get into the politics of it. They're not pro any particular nation. They're not against any particular nation. Specifically on these wartime pieces, it's not the enemy did this. It's simply, this happened, we're sad about it, and there was no blame. And then I kind of got the feeling, I'm sad that my dad died, but what was the reason he died? Oh, his boat blew up. That was about it. Well, who did it? They don't get into that. Why did it? They don't get into that. And
we know why it blew up. I mean,
I know, but they don't specific. If you didn't know about the Korean War, and it was you know it wasn't based in our reality. All you know is this happened, and there's no blame placed. It's an unfortunate event that happened.
Yeah,
And
they
it takes
unfortunately hit an enemy mine. Yeah,
yes,
that is correct.
but
No
the
blame to be
yes,
placed. Yes, I get that. No, and I get it.
and I like
Studio
that a
Ghibli is
lot.
very much pro. And they're a lot. At least when it comes to Miyazaki, he's more so environmentalist. He is very much an environmentalist.
And I feel like that comes through.
Right. However, I don't think he did this one.
I'm kidding. It doesn't come through.
No,
but I
I'm
mean,
just saying, like in general, like if there's any message or anything like that that's typically said, it always comes through like that, right? That's how it's always done for them, and it's not necessarily that their Studio Ghibli is the one that's doing it or specifically stating that or not casting a blame or casting blame or anything like that. It's just how that particular story via the manga writer or whoever it is writes it or chooses to write it, right? And it's not that
yeah,
they're the ones specifically, they're just the translators. They're either taking some information or they're not taking information and they're living out other parts, and that's something that they're totally do. However, the main story for this revolves around Umi and Shun, who basically are kind of tied to each other as a result of one man, Umi's father, and the technical details of it, which at first you're not really understanding, especially when it comes to Umi. Umi, like at the very beginning, the wife and I, we were like, why the hell is she taking care of everything? And then it like really starts to make sense. It's more so because she's taking care of the house and they have tenants that are living there. And so she's part of the caretaker, she's part of the staff. And one of the things, and I bring that up because I love that in this show or in the movie, they don't leave you hanging for answers. They show you something or they will tell you something, and then not too much further down the line, you will get an answer, or you will start to see the process of them getting an answer to where they're going to start getting led and where they're going to start figuring everything out. So you're learning everything that's going on when it comes to Umi or Shun or anything like that at the exact same time everyone else is. And it's very beautifully done. Now, you said the movie for you was slow. I thought
bit, yeah. I mean,
I thought the movie was great. I thought it was very well paced, and I loved the music that they had for it. Personally.
It's possible that all I did was like I got used to watching stuff at like double speed. So while yes, it is a bit, I'm going to say iffy at times, as far as understanding stuff goes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I'm watching it, the emotional pauses that are taken most of the time in anime, where they give you time to reflect, it's shortened, and it keeps my attention much better, much faster. Right. Especially if it's not a story that I'm typically interested in to begin with. And here, the reason I felt like it was slow, I feel like, is I couldn't really, I guess in my opinion, I couldn't see the plot. I couldn't see the story. I felt like there were certain times where I was like, I don't understand the timeline. Like, I don't understand, who am I rooting for? Who am I rooting against? What's the story here? You know? And I was like, they've got to have some kind of story that is better than I'm a girl who raises flags. And sometimes people answer.
Well, it's not that people sometimes answer. She raises a flag, and they do explain why she's raising a flag, and she says it a couple of times too. But it's the first time. It is explained. Yeah, but it's also the first time anyone's actually answered her, and it wasn't that she knew about it; she was told about it by one of the tenants that was staying there. And that's when she was like, oh, this is very unusual. And she started changing up the signal flags that were going up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, initially, the reason that she had the flag up, she was told by her father before he passed away that the only reason he made it home was because of her flags that guided him home. And so it's very, you don't find this out until I would say close to middle, maybe.
Yeah.
If it's an hour and 30 minutes, I would say like it took about 35 minutes to find that out.
Yeah, which is pretty normal.
It's normal.
Pretty.
It's normal for pacing.
Yeah.
But I couldn't, I couldn't, to me, it didn't make sense. Like I didn't understand why this was important. And then it became, the reasoning came clear and you're like, oh, well, she does that to try to bring her as a remembrance to her father, because he had mentioned in the past, like the only reason I came home or made it home is I followed the flags and you helped me. And so she does it as a form of respect and remembrance. And when they moved from their old house that had a flagpole to the new house that did not have a flagpole, she was distraught. And I thought it was her grandfather, but
it was,
could be mistaken.
Yeah, he decided to build the flagpole and take care of it for her so that way she could do it. But that just speaks to how she is, like that was something that kept her connected and how she chose to mourn her father. Like, and it's not so much that she didn't believe he wasn't going to come home. Part of her routine, part of her mourning process to be able to do it, which then just became a habit and a way for her to be able to signal his spirit to come home because he was lost overseas, was just that. And that speaks to the connection that she had to her father. It's not that she didn't believe that he was dead. She knew he was dead, right?
Oh yeah, no, there was never a question.
Exactly. But when she's going through the whole story and everything like that, you're finding out about Shun and his background, and then you're also finding out that he actually has a connection to her father. And so you're like, okay, well, these two kids have, they're growing up, they're doing what they can to just kind of make it through life, and then at the same time they're like, oh, this is totally weird. We have feelings for each other, but we may end up being related, which was like, all right, well, that's going to be unique if they go with a Star Wars-esque twist going on here. And they even acknowledge that, right? Like they acknowledge, it's like, hey, we have to acknowledge this thing that's happening, right? He's like, I went to the Hall of Records and everything like that, and I am his kid, and so it causes this friction, and she's like, but I still love you, and he's like, yeah, well, we can't just we have to ignore feelings now. And he's like,
yeah, I was like, this is going to go one of two ways.
Right.
And I'm happy it didn't go the way that I was expecting it to go.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, well, I've seen this version of the show before. And
well, it's one of your favorite genres, sir. I mean, like, we all know what you love. We all know what you secretly love, but that's all right. That's beside the point. Okay. Beside the point. But again, going back to them, like going through the process, learning everything, because he's at Umi's house and he learns that who her father is, and he sees the picture and he recognizes the picture, and then he goes over to his family and he asks his dad and their family, and it's like, yeah, no, he is. And then later on down the line, you find out more information. You find out like the kind of character that her dad was, and it's not necessarily what you're thinking. It's his dad, or her dad, Umi's dad, was really great friends with Shun's father, and he didn't want him to be put into the foster system. So he immediately, without thinking, just adopted the kid, and then went to another friend who he knew who had lost a family, who lost their baby, and said, you can take care of the kid and you'll give him a good life.
Yeah. And again, massive respect for people like that. Massive respect. Like, I might have said it once or twice, but my dad did something similar. Like, he knew I needed a father figure, and he stepped up. Didn't have to, could have walked away. I was so young, it wouldn't have mattered. But he, just like this main character, and this is probably why I'm able to relate, at least to a small portion with our main character, he stepped up and was awesome. Just like this guy. His moral compass was so on point. He's like, this kid cannot go to foster care. I know a good family in need. I know this. I know he was the connector. He had a fantastic moral compass.
Exactly.
And when you hear about, go ahead. I was going to say, when you hear later on about the last remaining person in a very pivotal picture talk about his friends before they passed away, he's like, honestly, you couldn't ask for better men. And instead, what I loved about this movie is instead of just letting that be the characteristic, it showed you before it told you. And when you told you, it just reaffirmed. Someone who knew them before they passed away, obviously,
Right.
gave you a exact feeling, an exact representation of what you saw. So it wasn't a one-off. It wasn't a I'm so worried.
Right.
It wasn't.
And you also have to like understand too that while we're talking a fair amount about the father and everything like that, he is the main pivotal point for Umi, and he is the main pivotal point for Shun. But the majority of the movie and the story, while it does talk about him, show you information about him, and relay all that so that you can get a kind of sense of what a person he is, it also translates really well to how Shun and Umi are, because they both also relay these characteristics. They also show these traits that like they do what they feel is best. They are there. They are very strong and dependable and great individuals. They are willing to go above and beyond when it matters most, and it's not lost in that translation. And even though they're kids, and even though they're in high school and everything like that, it's really well told, so that way they could, properly relay the kind of individuals their true parents were. And when I say true parents for Shun, I don't mean Umi's father. I mean his parents, the parents who raised him.
Yeah, the parents who repeatedly said, I don't care who your father was, I'm your father.
Yes.
And it goes to nature versus nurture. And it lightly touches on that. But the strong characteristics of his parents, the people who are around, you could see rubbed off on him. He was very charismatic. He was incredibly vocal. He was, I'm going to do it because it's right, not because, he was.
And Umi was the exact same way. Umi was the exact same way.
For lack of a better way to put it, main character energy.
Well, I mean, like they were the main character, so obviously.
Well, I know, but like,
I hope the main characters would have main character energy.
If you think about it, it goes with the mentality of, if not me, then who? Right. Rather than somebody else will take care of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, like one of the things I really loved was when they're the boys' dormitory, I think is what they called it. Was it a clubhouse or a dormitory?
Clubhouse.
Okay, so when the boys' clubhouse was going to be demolished.
Clubhouses, because there's technically a plethora in there, man. There was just so many in there.
Oh, there was a bunch of different clubs, but that's why I figured dormitory, because you have multiple sections.
Well, I mean, it also kind of threw you off too, because when you're in there and they show you one, it's completely trashed. And there's like clothes hanging on the line across the middle of it and everything like that. But
typical of a boys' room.
Right. Dormitory-esque thing, something.
So their biggest thing was don't tear it down. And the adults, who were, with the exception of like 2, were very uncaring. And, well, my upper management said we're going to do this, so we're going to do this. Well, don't tear it down. We need this. And I loved the fact that in an assembly where everyone's trying to discuss everything, people came in, they're like, revolt, and took it over.
Well, it's like, again, it's not that they were saying, well, upper management said this, so I'm going to do it. It's they have no say over it, because the guy who owns it is the one that's going to say it. And he's the one that, it doesn't matter what they say, he's the one that gets the final say.
100%.
So it's not a matter of like, oh, they're just like, well, they said this, so this is what I'm going to do. This is what's said, and they're the ones that makes the decision, and that's what they were told. That's what the boys were told. And it's a matter of, and understandably so, right? Like they're, if you look at the building, it was completely falling apart. It was just trashed beyond belief.
Oh, it was bad.
It was horrible. So yeah, I mean, like if I was that guy, 100%, I'm like, yeah, no, we need to tear that building down and just rebuild it fresh, because it's completely wrecked, right? Not to say that there wasn't a way to save it, because obviously the kids were able to save it, and it turned out very well. Although I will say this, man, there was a kid that was like hanging off this one building room that looked like the only way you could get to it was from a ladder to crawl in through a window, and he was just like hanging outside the window. I was like, what's the purpose of that? And then it got me thinking, the amount of dumb stuff that we were like, yeah, bro, this is totally cool. We would just do just because, or we thought it looked cool. And then now it's like, I ain't doing that, man. I'm way too old to try and do something that dumb. I can't crawl in and out of a window, up a ladder, in a window, out a window, just because I think it's cool. No, I'm good.
Well, a case in point of doing dumb shit that we would not do today, but I don't know, we might still do it today. When we I forget what it was. It was like Harry Potter or something. Well, we found stabs, like big ass logs that we found on our way home. And you found one, and I was like, "That's cool. I'm gonna find one." And we started beating each other with them. Like today, I'd be worried about breaking a finger or not being able to mend very well or come home with bruises.
Look, I don't.
Back then,
I don't need your logic, sir. I don't need your logic. All right.
It was still cool.
Hey. Well, again, to reiterate what I said, the things that we thought that was cool when we were younger and everything like that, would not do it today. I am not today gonna climb up a ladder to crawl into a window, right?
Yeah.
I'm also not going to stand on top of a 3-story building and jump into a pond that is that is not that shallow, that I will most assuredly break a back on jumping down.
You don't know. Quit being a fuddy-duddy and jump.
You know what? You can't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me.
Well, see, here's the thing. Back when I was skinnier and I weighed considerably less, that wouldn't have been an issue. And I feel like it was about, I would say at the
well, again, you're just making a case for,
it was at least 3 feet
just
deep.
making a case for, yes, back then, yes, today, no. And you're like, well, I don't know. Back when I was younger and duh. No kidding. Thank you for again reiterating what I'm saying. You're horrible at trying to argue against, sir. You are horrible at trying to argue against.
I don't I just want to help your argument.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you want. Well, when I was younger and skinnier.
I was your age.
And
oh, goodness. For the record, I'm still older than you, so you need to listen to me.
Right.
That's the logic I'm told. That's the logic I'm going to have to go with.
Right. Sure. Well, when you start exhibiting those traits, we'll talk then.
Oh, so I just need to walk around with a cane? Is that what you're saying? To exhibit the traits of being older? Okay. Bring in my birth certificate. Be like, see?
I was talking about the wisdom portion of it. You could be older. That doesn't mean you're smarter.
I never said wisdom. Wisdom you gotta earn.
All right, so but honestly, this movie was, I thought it was well done. I enjoyed it.
It was. I mean, it even went into the adult realm, and one of the few things that I found shocking, other than what we've already discussed, when they went to Tokyo or wherever they went, they ditched school and no one worried. They had enough money to hop on a train, go hours away, I assume, unsupervised. And when they finally, they showed the determination of, again, main character Angie. If not me, then who? They went to and got an appointment. They got a not a conference.
They went and saw
an audience.
Yeah.
They got an audience with the owner. And every other time, every adult is like, next time, make an appointment. And they're like, well, we didn't know we were coming up here to begin with.
Well, it wasn't that they didn't know they were coming up there to begin with. It's
they just didn't know the day.
No, they're like, we didn't think that it would even matter if we were gonna get an appointment.
That's true too. That is true too. But when they showed up and they got their audience and they're talking to him, and he goes, I'll be there tomorrow. Like he makes a phone call, pushes off his appointments. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Impress me. And then he goes through it, and it changed a heart when no one else thought it was going to happen. I mean, really, really awesome stuff, right? But I go back to the shocking part for me of they went to a town they needed to take a train to, gone majority of the day. No one reprimands them for being careless. And on top of that, like, try that now. There's no way I could walk down the street if I was still that age and go across town and have that kind of independence, knowing and self-assuredness. Like it's, and then they go as a two boys and a girl, right? And one of the boys is like, you know what? I'm going to go see my uncle because I'm in town.
Well, he was told to go see
What?
his uncle while he was in town. He's like, my
Oh,
mother
so
told
people
me
knew.
to go see your uncle while you're in town. So they knew. People
Oh.
knew.
That's kind of almost worse. They knew, and then they're still like, all right, yeah, it's safe to send my kid miles and miles away with no cell phone.
Hang on.
No way of
Hang on.
communication.
Whoa. You can't base cell phone on this. This is taking place in the late 50s.
No cell phones. Thank God. Thank God I was right about that. But
you can't base it. It's like, hey, it's like saying, oh, you know what? I don't understand why they were able to just like completely go out there and just like not have a tracking device implanted in their ass so that way they're able to know where everyone's at. It's like, bro, you and I both know when we were younger, we would just wander the streets aimlessly half the fucking time. Pardon my language. I remember
getting my ass beat every time we did it too.
No. Not me. My mom knew where I was.
My mom knew I was with you, and I still got my ass beat.
Yeah, but that's not my fault. All right, you knew what was going to happen.
I did, and I still did it every single time.
Right.
I remember walking home, being grounded because my grades sucked, and my mom would call your house, and she'd be like,
"Rick, over there?
You know you're grounded, right?" And I'm like, "I'm not here. I'm not here." And then God bless her, your dad would come out, or your mom would come out and be like, "Your mom says you're grounded." And I'm like, "But I'm not here." She goes, "Yeah, I know you're not here." And when we said that, she goes, "Let you know when you get home, you're right." I'm like, God bless it. So yeah, I couldn't hide the fact that I was at your house, even when I was grounded.
Well, I mean, like the thing is that they knew where you were, right? She knew where you were.
They knew.
And that is the same thing for them, right? They know where they're going. They're going to go over here. They're going to do that. They're going to go this. And while you're out there, go see your uncle. And then you two be sure to come home. And I can only imagine it wasn't too far away for Shun because Shun lived downtown anyways. And he had to hoof it on a bike or have his dad boat him in every day, you know? So
that's actually a good point. I didn't consider that. I thought, yeah, that's actually a really good point. So it might not have been as drastic as I was expecting it to be.
So, I mean,
that's commitment to get to school every day. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like when you have when you only have a high school within X amount of time, again, you have to take that into consideration, right? There's a lot of, at least for us, right? You know, going over like 2 blocks down the road. Oh my God, man, that's so far. But at least in the shows and the movies and everything like that, I mean, like you're hearing about people that are like, I want to go to this high school over here, and it's 3 cities over, so you got to get up early, hop on 5 bullet trains, and then you're gonna get there, and then you're finally at school. So I mean, different cultures, different realities. Like for them, I would assume it's not unusual for them to commute for school, even in high school.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I didn't consider. Well, I mean, a different time. Like I remember walking as a kid 2.5 miles to middle school, and then 2.5 miles. I actually checked last time I was home. 2.5 miles to high school, and it didn't seem that bad when I was doing it, you know. But I couldn't say that I'd let my kid or my brother do that because it wouldn't be in my mind. It wouldn't be as safe. It wasn't as safe then either. But yeah, I did fathom it. It's beyond my understanding on how that's like
it's the way of the world, man. I mean, like times change, environments change, and everything changes. And this movie is a very strong symbol of that, of things changing, times changing, everything changing as life moves on.
Yeah. That's actually a really good way to put it. Life moves on. Yeah, this is a period piece, but it does very easily. Yeah, life moves on. My father died. It happened in the past. Life moves on.
Yeah.
We were trying to save some bygone era building, and so they renovate it. They as best as they can. They clean it up. They save it. But even beyond that, it shows history, and they're like, yeah, previous generations didn't clean. So we're going to clean so that future generations can keep it up. Probably won't, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But it looks kind of awesome, and it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Wow, I don't know why I didn't see that when I was watching the movie. Again, one of the awesome reasons why I like talking to you about stuff like this. You bring a different perspective.
Oh, thank
Most
you.
of the time it's wrong, but either way, yeah, we're not here to judge. Um, so yeah, yeah, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it.
Yeah, why not? Right? It works.
Yeah. So what else did you think about it?
I thought it was a great movie. I enjoyed the music. What did you think of the music?
It was subtle. It was subtle. It fit. It didn't take me out of the experience.
My wife really enjoyed the movie and the music. She enjoyed both. She actually really enjoyed the movie. She's like, this is great. This is a great movie. So
honestly, I can't tell you that I would remember it. The music to me. Maybe it's just because we got such bangers as far as like suggestions go, but the music seemed rather generic to me, and it was probably awesome. But we've been covering so many shows that have phenomenal music. It just seemed usual to me,
Well, they certainly chose a different style of music compared to what we normally end up listening to or play. They chose more era appropriate music. That's for sure. And I mean, like, if you want to talk about bangers, I don't think a fair amount of the most recent ones, you can really chalk it up to that. And I mean, like, you could even go within the last couple of episodes, Noir. With that, I don't think you can exactly qualify that as a banger soundtrack.
Hey, we don't talk about that.
Well, yeah, we do, because
we treat it like Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, we do. All right. But beyond that, I don't have too much more I can say. How about you, sir?
I mean, we covered most of it. I mean, it's got amazing visuals as far as the attention to detail, but all Studio Ghibli does. Every last one of them do. One of the things I was expecting but didn't see was more spirituality. That's what I've come to expect from Studio Ghibli. That's what I was looking for, which is probably why I didn't really get into it until like 35, 40 minutes into it.
Could you clarify what you mean by that?
Well, Studio Ghibli, when I hear that, I think fantastical, like otherworldly beings and adventures and stuff like that. So I was expecting a Spirited Away. I was expecting things that weren't normal. And what I got here was extremely normal. But again, attention to detail was amazing. So, I mean, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I can't complain. It's just, if I were to watch it again, I would probably watch it with different eyes, if that makes any sense. I wouldn't be expecting one thing. I would be more appreciative of what was there, I feel. So I came in with some expectations that were not met.
Right.
Mainly because it's like, I want orange juice, but I got apple juice.
Okay.
It's technically juice, but it's a whole different flavor.
Okay. Fair enough. To be fair, I mean, like, a majority of the ones that are usually very fantastical or magical or anything like that are the ones that Hayao Miyazaki traditionally does, and this was a different director.
No, I understand that. I can appreciate that, but when I first started, I unfortunately, when it comes to intelligence, I'd say you got the lion's share when it comes to intelligence and specifically attention to detail. It's one of the reasons why you work with spreadsheets and I work with my body. You'll last way longer than me and probably get paid more eventually, overall. But like, I was just like, ooh, Studio Ghibli, and that's the extent of my delving for information.
I got you.
I wasn't disappointed in the quality. The quality is still amazing, and I would definitely recommend this. It's a touching story. It's everything you could want, minus the spiritual fantasticness that My Totoro would do.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, again, you have to take it, like, every director has their own view, their own focal points. So, like, Hayao Miyazaki, he's very environmentalist, very focused, very on the fantastical spirits and everything like that side of things. And the only time where it doesn't come through like that, where it's not a very, very fantasy-esque style environment story or anything like that, is, from my experience, is every time when it doesn't deal with him, which just shows the kind of work that he chooses to work on, right? And it speaks to every director, right? Every director has something that they particularly would rather work on, and every director has something that they're always known for, right?
Yeah.
The reason why the conflation between Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli is that Miyazaki and Ghibli are synonymous. I mean, like they're a lot of the stories, a lot of the movies, and a lot of the work that's out there for it is mainly because of him. I mean, like he is the more well-known, well-rounded, the more noticeable figurehead for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense. It does. So I'm actually very sorry. I'm actually very happy with how things went.
All right.
Who knows? And in the future, it might be beneficial to ask you, hey, what kind of Ghibli is this? Is this, I might be in love with my sister, or I'm going to see God of the Dead?
Which again, I don't know if we clarified. Yeah, they were not related. We did. Yeah, we clarified, but I feel like we need to reiterate it. They were not related. They were not. They were not and are not related.
Yeah, at all. Right. And that was very good to hear. And I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those. Oh, thank God it's not.
Right. Okay. All right, sir. So I feel like this is a great spot for us to leave off. What about you?
I think so too. Yeah.
All right. So on a scale of up to 10, sir, how would you rate this?
It's not going to be a 10, only because it didn't meet my expectation, and I felt very let down. Again, orange juice versus apple juice. It's still good, but it wasn't what I was expecting. That said, I would feel like it's a strong 8 or a weak 9 for me.
Okay.
And so which is it?
Which is it? Which is it? Pick.
I've been debating on this for a while because it's got all the characteristics of a good story, just not a good story for me.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with a strong 8.
Okay, so you're going with an 8.
Yes.
For me, I have to think.
That's a long pause, sir.
I know. I'm thinking.
Rushing me through my numbers.
No. You were like, I don't know. Should I pick an 8 or should I pick a 9? It's a strong 8 or a weak 9. Well, which one is it? You have to choose one.
I feel like
I will settle on 1. I'm not giving out 3 or 4 numbers. I'm going to settle on 1.
Well, no. See, I like
actually, I'm going to settle on
my thought process.
Technically on 2 numbers. Technically.
I figured it was going to be double digits.
10. I'm giving it a 10.
Why?
I enjoyed it. It was great. It was the music I felt was very well done. It was very appropriate. The movie wasn't overly stimulating, nor was it understimulating for me. I felt like it fit that perfect median for me. It was something that I could honestly easily watch again a few times, honestly. The storytelling that's done really well. It doesn't leave you wanting for more. How it leads you into the story, how it explains everything. The camaraderie that are between everyone is immediately known, like going back to when they had the assembly and everyone was arguing and whatnot. You had one pinnacle person. When the principal or the dean, right, was walking in, he's waving, so the guy comes out, he starts singing, and everyone immediately picks up on the cue. We need to settle down and start singing, so that way they don't kick us out of here.
Oh yeah.
The ability for him to be able to lead and everyone just being able to like pick up on that, very well done. The story and then when they're at the end, the urgency for them to reach a specific destination, you feel that with them. You're going through the emotions with them, and then when they finally reach that destination, right? The captain of there
amazing.
Salutes them, shows them the respect. Right? Not just like, oh, there are a couple of kids, get out of here, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, you know what? We're going to push this off. We're going to delay this for 15 minutes so that way I can go talk to them. How he talks to them, how he interacts with them, how he makes them feel. It's just very well done. Like the story, the progression of the story, the flow of emotions, the music that plays through it, the intricacies for it, just top notch for me. I enjoyed every bit of this. It is a great movie.
Sometimes I don't like you very much.
Why?
because I really want to give it a 9 now, because you are right. The crescendo of emotion, that the urgency, the culmination of everything that happened was done incredibly well. God dang it. Yeah, I went from a strong 8 week 9 to a moderate 9. So yeah, I don't like changing my score because it makes me seem like I'm doing it because Jack's doing it. But I mean,
if you want to change your score, change your score. Don't worry about it, man. You're changing it because you had a change of heart and a different view put on something that you originally had. That's all it is.
That just you nudged me in the upward trajectory.
Yeah.
I can't give it a 10 again, only because it wasn't what I was what I wanted, what I expected. But
right.
yeah, it's a 9. Yeah, it's a 9.
All right.
It's a moderate 9.
All right.
I mentioned 9.
Well, so a 9 from you, 10 from me.
Yep.
Feel like pretty solid. Thank you again, Angel. Very much enjoyed this week's choice. It was a great palate cleanser, so to speak. Next week.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Next week, we're going to be watching Recovery of an MMO Junkie. This was a random / Rick choice. So
taking credit if it's good. If it's not good, then that wheel hurt us.
Right. So if you feel like we got something right, something wrong, or anything else, feel free to reach out to us. All our contact information and everything like that is in the show notes, or you can also go to featuredanimepodcast.com. All our contact information and everything like that's on there, and is including a link to where you can also go and submit your recommendations for us. We do have quite a few recommendations, and we are slowly working through them. We'll eventually get caught up on all of them, but we will eventually get to it. But if you want to hear some of the pre and post content that we usually do for every episode, patreon.com/featuredanimepodcast. If you want to get yourself some swanky swag, shop.featuredanimepodcast.com. And we also, again, have an affiliate link for you inside the show notes where you can go and buy the movie for it from rightstuffanime.com. You use that link and you purchase anything on there. Honestly, we do get a little bit of a kickback. If that's how you choose to support us, we would very much appreciate it. But if you don't want to, that's totally acceptable. We are always open and free for everyone to listen to us at any point in time. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick. And we'll see you next time.